Everybody, rock your body right. Rock your body. 7 minutes in heaven. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, did we get a lot of people? I think this is actually the first episode, okay? Because your boy was coming back with Daddy's Home. It'd be weird if I didn't mention that I am now a father and I didn't give my birth story. If I didn't share that with you. Okay? And just it was basically a season recap, you know? It was like you know how in the end of like The Sandlot they give like an update on what happened like either after that. But this was like a mid-credit scene one where they were like, some time has passed. So-and-so is this. The kingdom has fallen. Blah, blah, blah. That was the recap in my mind. That's what I felt like was happening. Was like, yo, I'm now elite. Okay. I'm now dispensing fatherly wisdom on people. Okay. Here's the reality. Here's the truth. Everybody was like, dude, it's going to be crazy when you come back. You're going to be so prolific and profound in these new jokes and wisdom and all of this shit. I got a fucking baby brain, dude. I'm not out. I shouldn't even be allowed to vote, brother, sister. Okay. I have to take mushrooms, and I'm not talking like the fun kind. I got to take like things that just help my brain. Brain food is what I'm pretty much doing. I got to take these mushroom supplements just to try to get my brain to get it back to a baseline. Okay. All I've learned, like the biggest skill set I've developed is being able to look at a baby and be like, that thing either needs to burp or take a shit or is just sleepy or needs a diaper change. Like I'm developing these. I'm like a shitty Liam Neeson. I'm developing a particular set of skills. They're very particular, okay? That's the other thing, dude. You have a baby girl. All of a sudden, you're watching the movie Taken as an instructional video, okay? I don't even know if this is like what I was thinking about, because I was like, if I had to murder someone, theoretically, okay, listen, let's not get weird. Don't let them use this in the future for my documentary. I'm being like, he was always a nice guy until he wasn't. And then it cuts to a clip of being like, if I had to murder someone. But all I'm saying is like some movies like Taken, you can't do it anymore. Like there's so much with Ring cameras and all this stuff. Like every time they want to film some kind of movie where there's like a heist of some sort, there always has to be a sun flare that just wipes out technology. That's the only way we're doing any of these movies, and you want me to suspend belief, okay? You want me to suspend belief like the Snow White story. Oh, she just made it all the way through now without a man helping her. This bitch was walking through the wilderness, okay? And what happened to the dwarves? What did they do? They did something weird with the new Snow White movie. Sorry, I just saw a headline. Did zero research, and that's usually how I like to talk about my topics. But apparently they didn't even use little people. They had 7 dwarves, and they were like, you know what? Let's not use dwarves because it's insulting. So we're gonna make them AI or something, whatever they did. And there were 7 dwarves ready to audition, and they were like, okay, well, I can't be sleepy. Oh, I can't be grumpy. You know what it is? It was Tyrion Lannister, okay? He just didn't want anybody else to get through, okay? He thinks he set the bar high, and there wasn't going to be room for anybody else, okay? I love Tyrion Lannister. God, Game of Thrones, huh? I'm reading it right now, brother, okay? The small moment of time I get to myself, okay, is late at night when all the world sleeps. I wish on a star. You forgot how goldfish my brain was before this, huh? You're like, Jesus, Evan, stick to one thing. Sorry, I just realized that lady who killed Selena is getting out of prison soon. And I feel like there's just going to be a ton of people. Like, I think everybody should turn the other cheek. If we're going to have a sun flare, it should be that day, and just have a sniper ready when she walks out and thinks she's about to breathe fresh air. She just gets it in and just take her out, and then she doesn't even get the XL free air. She's gone to hell, baby. Okay. Crazy to kill Selena. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, I like to read at night when all the world is sleeping. My wife's asleep. My baby is asleep. The dog is sleeping. I get on my Kindle, dude, and I just dive. What it is, it's like Narnia for me. A book at night, dude, when everybody else is asleep. And that's why I really only like reading fiction at night. And it almost has to be whimsical, dude. I like some sci-fi, dude. And I'm like one click away from being like, I will dress up as a wizard and go to the park and play with all the cosplayers. I'm like one click away. Okay, just one more time, I would have been out there being like, Ungari Leviosa. Okay, I love fantasy, all of that shit, dude. All the stuff that doesn't matter. Okay, I like build up a wealth of knowledge about stuff that no one cares about, and it's good escapism, and that's what it is. Okay, some people don't want to. They will like poo poo on Harry Potter. Like when people are like, "Oh, do you read?" and it's like, "Yeah, I love Harry Potter." They're like, "Oh." There's like some people who like they don't think that fantasy and sci-fi and all these like books and genres like this are anything like, oh, they think they're fancy because they read a book about some like way too real of a life experience. I have a theory. I think when people get so like, I just like literature that just it's like so smart and sophisticated where they're just, you see this hand motion I'm doing? You're just listening. I'm like twisting my hand as if I'm like describing a vintage wine. Okay. It's got oaky afterbirth. The placenta is strong in this one. They like to be like that. And they describe something so basic. Like, wow, like the fucking, what is it on drywall? See, that's why I don't write these kind of books. Whatever. You guys don't get me, dude. I've been gone and you guys don't get me. Wallpaper. The wallpaper was falling off. It was torn. There was a burn spot in the carpet, remembering when Father put his cigarette out on the ground and blah, 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 blah. There still was a ripped curtain from that summer before when I jumped off the couch and blah, blah, blah. Like they describe these things and people are like, wow, the way you described that musty smell really took me there. But then you're fucking creating world building with Narnia and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and they're just like, ew. Like, you like magic? Yeah, who the fuck doesn't like magic? Who has ever had a magician walk up to them and just been like, they'd be like, do you want to see a magic trick? Who's the person who's just like, nah. Not one person. Magic might be the coolest thing ever. It's really cool as a skill set, but also it's just hard to beat. That's like there's a lot of fusion sometimes with comedy, and you get people doing magic and comedy. Dude, it's a superpower. If you're going up after someone who's doing magic and comedy, and I think magicians are actually very good at comedy. They're like a mold, a fusion of it for sure, because they use it as a tool. Like comedy is for sure a tool in a magician's arsenal, because they're doing little bits and everything and being like, oh, how long have you been with the wife? Bet you want me to disappear her, huh? And then it gets a laugh and they go do their thing and they're using it as a tool to like distract. But it's tough when you start seeing a magician just murder before you're about to go on stage and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't even, you start Googling shit. You're like, maybe I can get a coin somewhere, you're like trying to Google a 1 minute YouTube trick from some fucking guy in India who's just making it, dude. Whatever, you guys don't get me, dude. Or musicians, if you fuse music and comedy, it's a tough act to follow, literally, dude. What we're talking about, fusion, all of that, dude. Yeah, but I love reading Game of Thrones. It is my escapism. I love just reading fantasy. Fiction at night is what I was getting at. And I don't want it to be a fiction of like just someone's life where you're like have to relate to it and everything. I want fiction of like kingdoms are at war. There's talks of dragons. There's magic. There's all this stuff that's just otherworldly, because it takes me out and I just drift away, dude. I'll maybe last like 10, 15 pages before I just disappear myself, brother. But it what are we gonna talk about? We had something we want to talk about, dude. No, it left, dude. This is the baby brain, dude. It just kicks in. This feels like it is the first episode back, to be honest with you, because I had intention with the first episode, and it was well received, guys. Thank you. Feels good to be back. I was nervous. I almost, full disclosure, didn't even put that episode out. I was just like, this feels weird. I don't know. And then I said, you know what? Fuck it. I literally went on the podcast thing and I saw people were still listening, like early, like the first episodes, people were listening. And I was like, all right, let's just fucking do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Okay. So I'm back, baby. Next episode is most likely going to have a guest. No promises, but we are going to do more with the pod. And, but I enjoy being able to just fucking let it rip, baby. Okay. Things are going well. Comedy's doing its thing, dude. It's a long trek. And what's crazy is I think I'm coming up on 7 years. I don't remember exactly what month I started in. I could already be at 7 years. It's definitely in 6 somewhere. I need to look back and see where I did certain things and then I can know. But it's moved fucking fast, dude. And, they say that there's like this whole thing of like, they say you're not a real comedian and you can't headline until 10 years in. And I believe that. I've done little headlining stuff. I've done 35, 45-minute sets. I've never done an hour. But I'm starting to feel like I'm peeling back some layers where I'm like, things are starting to unlock a little bit and different things that I can do and figure out. And I'm having fun. Dude, I had something, the first time this has ever happened to me, dude. I walked my first audience member, dude. Your boy felt terrible. Okay. I felt terrible because it wasn't even like a fun walk where I was just doing this controversial joke and this person got offended and they left. It was the most random thing that happened that just offended this person and made them leave as soon as I was finished, and then also confront me outside of the comedy club and then storm off. And then I here's what happened. Okay. I'm doing my set. It was a tough night. The crowd was a little tight, but I was actually during my set, I had fun. I went up, I did a lot of crowd work. I got them back to like a good place, and I was having fun with them, and I was doing these jokes, and I had this stupid throwaway line where sometimes I'll go into this bit I have about getting older. And sometimes to get into the bit, if they're 1 out of every 10 shows, maybe I'll have like an old lady in the crowd. Like we're talking white hair, 80s, just an old lady. Someone's grandmother is in the crowd. And sometimes I'll cuss. I'll say like a line, like a punchline that has like a cuss in it, or it's something graphic, like, just a regular joke. And then I'll say, sorry for cursing, grandma. And usually just gets a big pop. And I'll be like, I'm so sorry. Shout out, grandma. I'm going to clean it up from here on out. And then I like just go into the bit and everything. And I do this. I end on this line. And I remember seeing a old lady, a grandma, in the front or in the back row when I was walking through the club. And I just like clocked it in my head, but I never even like really did anything. And then I do this on stage and I say it like 2 or 3 times, like, grandma, there's a sweet old lady in the back. I apologize, for cursing. And then I move into this bit. It goes fine. It's whatever. I get off stage. I go outside. I'm talking to the other comics. And all of a sudden this lady storms out at me and she goes, I'm the grandmother you were talking to. And then I go, what? Because this lady's like clearly 40s to 50s. maybe. I think she said she was 50s. And she goes, yeah, I'm the grandmother, the old lady you were talking to. And I was confused because I was like, I wasn't talking to this lady. But then I realized this lady has like platinum dyed hair. Like she dyes her hair platinum. And I realized in the dark of the club, just glanced at this lady. My brain went, oh, there's an old grandma right there. I'm going to use her. But seeing her out in like, it was still a little light out. It was like the early show. So it was like, I don't know, 7 at this point, and it was still light out. So I'm like, oh, I would never make this joke, this old lady, because I'm like, you're clearly not an old lady. Which other comedians were like, dude, she was in her 50s, definitely old enough to be somebody's grandma. But yeah, she like was so offended. And I was like, oh, I'm like looking at her because I was pausing. I looked at her and I'm like, no, you're not. And she goes, yeah, I'm the one you were calling grandmother. And then I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, you're clearly not an old lady. I apologize about that. She goes, I know I'm not an old lady. How could you? And she storms off. And I felt terrible. And I'm just like, wow. Like she almost had like tears in her eyes. Like she was very emotional. And you're like, Evan, what's with this accent that you're giving her? She was from Ireland. She was 100% Irish. And it made this whole experience way more comical, but also just like mystical. Like it was a very whimsical, like I felt like I was on a journey with this lady. Because if she just had a regular accent and she was like getting offended, I might have been like less friendly and like less like feeling the need to correct this behavior. Because all of a sudden I realized it's like a little old Irish lady, you know? And I, like 5 minutes goes by. She's sitting in a truck that's like parked just like maybe 3 or 4 cars away from where I'm standing. Like it's also very awkward. Maybe 5 minutes go by, but she's waiting because there's still people she was with in the club that were just like watching the show, but she got so upset she left. And they were just like, well, we're going to finish the show. So I go over because I feel terrible because I'm just like I'm not like a mean comic. I'm not like this edgy comic that like I want to say offensive things and like 20% love it and 80%, well, sorry, you came to a comedy club. Like I don't have any jokes really like that. I don't care about that kind of stuff. You can be dark and shocked, but it's like that's just not what I do at all. So I go over to the window and I ask her, like, can you pull the window down? And she told me to walk around. So she wants to put me in the street. She wants to put my life in danger. And I am like, hey, she opens the door. I go, hey, I'm really sorry if that hurt your feelings. It was a mess up on my part. And I'm literally just like, I don't care. I could have argued these points and been like, hey, I told you this, blah, blah, blah. But I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings who that are there. Like literally the point I do comedy when I'm there, it's like, I want everybody in the room to have a good time. Like it makes my night when people come up after and they're just like, this was such an amazing night. We had so much fun. And I also am appreciative that people are even supporting like live comedy. It's like truly crazy. Like they will come to a show and just sit there and let you talk to them and like make them laugh. Like they're like, here, we're doing this. Yeah, you can do it. Entertain us. And so I try on shows. I try never to really phone it in. Will I bomb with new material and stuff that I got to work on and stuff? Yeah, I will. But I'll try to still like do my best to give a show. So when the opposite happens of trying to entertain someone, I feel terrible. Like if they are walking away from it, feeling bad about themselves or something, I just, it's my sentimental, emotional, empathetic side of me, which is gay. But I tell her that and she's like, like it's not easy for women getting older and you're up there saying that, that I'm a grandmother. Like she kept repeating that. And she did, there were like, it seemed like tears in her eyes. Like she was very like upset and it was making me feel bad. And it really is disarming when someone has like an Irish accent. Okay. because she's saying things and like just being a certain way, but it's like making it very like, I feel even more terrible. And then I just kept repeating myself, hey, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean that and blah, blah, blah. I want you to have a good time. I do this joke and this is something that I do. And I literally explained that I do this all the time because she was like, you shouldn't be even making those kinds of jokes. And I'm like, listen, I do this all the time. And then she was like, you're lucky I didn't go up there and punch you in the fucking face. And then I was like, okay, like, all right, lady, I'll let you have this moment. Also how crazy, like I kind of wish, because I was filming my set, I would have loved to have that on film. Either way it went. Let's say I make something funny of it, or I get knocked out by the female Conor McGregor, dude. How sick would that be? But then she started getting about ageism and everything like that, and when you start using some like hot words on me, I kind of check out. I don't really like. There is a line, even if you have a awesome Irish accent, where I'm like, okay, but yeah, she ended up being fine, and she was like, "Are you doing all this because you're worried about me slandering you on social media?" And I told her, I was like, I honestly don't give a fuck about that. And then I lit a cigarette and put a leather jacket on, dude, because degaff. But I told her, I honestly, I don't give a fuck about that. I only care about how you feel right now as like humans. Like, this is the weird thing. Like, and I think that like caught her off guard, and she kind of like, as soon as I said that, she like kind of was like, okay, well, I guess I am kind of, I don't know. Like, it's a weird thing where people think that talking shit online has any power. Even if it does have power in a weird way, I don't think I would ever subject myself to like allowing that to be something that I worry about. Like the same thing like with like working with clients or during doing certain shows. Like there's some shows I won't do in Austin. Like I just don't agree with what they do or something like that, where I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to subject myself to that. I've heard bad things about this. I just don't do them. Like I won't. I don't want to be part of that. And it's at the expense of me losing stage time or something, but it's like, no, I can make that up somewhere else. But I'm not going to subject myself to like being something or doing something that makes me I don't know. I think I would lose respect for myself if I did comedy or engaged with people and cowered in a way of being like, oh, I'm worried that they might put a mean post about me on social media. Like, I don't give a shit. It's the same thing with like clients in my business where like if I have a client that is a nightmare or something, like I will just be like, we don't have to work together. You can work with someone else and I might not be a great fit for you, which has happened. I've had nightmare clients where they start doing something and saying something. They think because they're paying you money to do something that they can talk to a certain way, or you're like their employee. Like that's like always a weird thing. As soon as people start looking at things like that and you realize they're talking down to you, I'm just like, well, it doesn't work like that. We're partners on this. And if you need to go be with someone else, that's fine. But anyway, that was the most awkward engagement. That was the first time I've ever had someone walk out of a show and be upset at it. I've had people be upset at jokes I made. Saying wepa on stage. I had this girl get mad at me and she's like, why would you make jokes about saying, are you Mexican or something like that? She said something dumb like that. Are you Mexican? So why would you say wepa? And I was like, because I'm Puerto Rican. She's like, Puerto Ricans don't say wepa. I'm like, yeah, Puerto Ricans, it's literally like the Puerto Rican thing to say. Have you never been to a Puerto Rican party, dude? Fucking grow up, Peter Pan. But I don't even think Mexicans say wepa. They just like go, dude, Mexicans cornered the market on high-pitched yells, dude. They got it. No one else. If you go, you automatically know who that is. Also, sombreros. I feel like other cultures wear sombreros. I know in Puerto Rico in the sugarcane fields and just in the fields working, they would wear big straw hats and everything, kind of like sombreros. But I think sombreros are more of a cultural thing, like that the Mexican army or soldiers, the cowboys, whatever, they would wear those too, you know. I just heard my baby girl growl in the distance. This is if you're about to engage on having kids or you're gonna get in, this is something that they don't tell you about babies and newborns that you don't realize till you have them. They make the craziest sounds. They do these crazy things. They go through phases of like they're grunting like then they'll go through like fake talking like and then they'll go through little bear cub sounds. And that's what stage I'm in right now, dude. She'll look at you and be like, most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. I can watch it on repeat for hours. It's great, dude. I love it. Life's grand. It is a very narrowing thing having a babe, having kids, dude, in general. You realize I had a dad, and forgive me if I said this on the last podcast, but I had a dad tell me before when my wife was just pregnant that you don't realize how much free time you have until you have kids. And then, but you won't realize it until you have them, that what free time really is. And you have to be a certain way with that free time when you get it. You become way more narrowed on what your focus is and wasting time. It's something that I'm like still adapting to and getting better at. But it was that like stuck with me even before. And it was Brendan Hansen, Olympic gold medalist, Brendan Hansen. Fun fact, he lives here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, that's something that's so true. So like, you can do all the things. That's like the one thing that people talk about is like when you have kids, your life is over. And it's like this whole, you can't chase dreams and you can't do this kind of stuff. I don't believe in any of that. If anything, it just makes what you're going after much more important. And like you work harder and cut out the bullshit and have more of a reason to go after those things. So I don't really buy into that. It makes it more difficult, but if you're disciplined and you can figure it out, you're going to be fine, dude. Welcome to my TED Talk. All right. We're getting towards the end of this podcast. And I wanted to carve out a little bit of time, ladies and gentlemen, to answer some of these questions I received on Instagram. This is going to be a regular thing. So, and please, please, please take this serious. If you have any questions, if I touch on a topic and you're like, I want you to elaborate on that, or just like, oh, let's see what you think about this. Ask me any questions, topics, current events. If you send me a current event, I will do my damnedest to research about it and have stuff ready to talk about on the episode. Okay? Just keep that in mind. And you can slide in the DMs with an article, something you're like, hey, check this out for the podcast. Cool. Email me at contact@EvanLopez. And we can go over it. First question. Favorite book? Do you read regularly? Yeah, I do. I do read regularly. I almost read a little too much, I would say. I'm a little too much of a bookworm in later in life. I have been favorite book. If I got to be honest with you, favorite book, it might really be the Harry Potter series. It might be the books that I've read the most multiple times and gotten the most enjoyment out of is the Harry Potter series, I would say. I've probably read it all the way through maybe 4 times, every book. And then I've even read the fucking, there's like books, like other random little books that she wrote, J.K. Rowling, that were just about like within the Harry Potter world, about different professors and stuff like that. I went deep, baby. But I would say, the Harry Potter books are probably my favorite. I do like the Lord of the Rings series. I like the movies more than the books. I got to be honest with you with Lord of the Rings, because one thing that books don't have, soundtrack. Okay. And the Fellowship of the Rings, the Shire sounds, Return of the King. There's so many songs and just the visuals in Lord of the Rings and the way they did those movies. It's a masterpiece. Okay. Game of Thrones books are great. Let's see. If I the first book I ever actually read in my life was Jurassic Park when I was a little kid. It used to be like a weird homeschooling bragging thing that my mom would tell people, was that I was like 5, or I don't know how old whenever you start reading, but I was like very, very young. Could have been like 7 or something. And I would get paid a penny a page to read books, I think, which is pretty much slave labor. I didn't even claim any of that money on my taxes as a little kid. But I remember I read Jurassic Park, and my mom would brag to people about it. She'd be like, he read Jurassic Park. But I got to be honest with you. Jurassic Park. So that was like the first book I can remember reading that wasn't just like a kid's book. Shit scared the fuck out of me. Okay. I don't know if you know this about Jurassic Park, the original book, but it was almost written like a horror story. And there are some very like graphic scenes where it's like the raptors, like, now that's a good book for describing a situation. But there was the raptors like would put their claw like in someone's stomach and like rip their stomach open, and the intestines were falling out and all this stuff. And the guy laid there as he like died. And it was like, holy shit. Like I remember being like 7 years old, being terrified of this. I think I talked about this on the podcast, but dude, when I first saw Jurassic Park, I was terrified. That was probably the first movie that gave me like nightmares. I remember sleeping in the closet, had a flashlight died. Oh no. Go get an extension cord and a lamp. And then I was laying half in the closet, half outside the closet, because I had to be able to make an escape. I didn't want to get pinned down by the raptors. Okay. So I was holding a lamp and I would just be shining it at shadows. True story. But yeah, I read regularly. I read every single morning and every single night. Usually nonfiction in the morning and then fiction at night. Right now I'm reading in the mornings, just finished the book, Comfort Crisis, which is just like, I'm almost getting over some of these like just discipline books. Like they're starting to kind of blend in the same. But the book I'm reading right now is The Art of Storytelling by William Storr. And I have had it for like 3 or 4 years and I've never finished it. And I recently heard someone mention it on a podcast. And I say, you know what? I need to actually go back and read that book. I bet I can get something good from it. And then at night, I'm reading Game of Thrones and Empire of the Summer Moon, which is about Texas being settled with the Comanches and everything like that, and the Parker family. The craziest shit ever. When you start looking at the history of Texas, that all this was going on, like this is why Texas is so crazy, and like the rich history. They were just sending Germans out into like Comanche territory. We were like inviting them over. They're like, yeah, come have a homestead, dude. Escape, the Hitler world of Germany. Just come over here. You can have a family. You can raise animals and just start your own life. And they were like, oh, isn't that great? And then they came out here and they were like, oh yeah, and do you have a gun? Because we got Comanches. And then they were just sending out Germans like fodder, dude. We were just like, get out there, dude. Crazy. But great question. Next question. Quantum physics and how it relates to everyday flatulence. Now listen. I know some of you guys think I'm pretty brainy, okay? And I dabble a little bit into quantum physics, okay? And I don't know how it. I'll probably err on the side of quantum physics and flatulence and actually not being related, okay? I would think more that everyday flatulence is more of magic, if you will, okay? Because have you ever had flatulence and you're like, wow, that smells exactly like the food I ate, dude? You ever had 30 29-cent cheeseburgers from McDonald's when you're a kid, and then you have everyday flatulence, and you're like, wow, that smells exactly like what I ordered. That's magic. That's not science. There's something in this world that science can't explain. Okay. And I think we can all learn something from that. And not everything with science is correct. Let's see. Does mane and tail shampoo, yes, for horses, actually make your hair grow faster? Now, I didn't know if this question was in general and you were treating me like ChatGPT or perhaps Google, and or if you're asking me if I use mane and tail. Now, I got to be honest with you. I do take that as a compliment because now, as your boy gets older, I'm very blessed with the hair on top. Okay. Thick hair. I've always had it. I've been a nightmare for barbers, dude. They start running a comb through it, and I'm like, yeah, you better bust out whatever Wakanda uses. Okay, that vibranium comb to try to rip through this thing. Okay, and I never used mane and tail. Okay, but here's the thing: when people ask me a question, I do the research. Now, does mane and tail actually make your hair thicker? No, it's an illusion. Or longer. Sorry, longer was the question. No, but mane and tail actually makes your hair feel thicker because it's a volume thing that it's doing. It's expanding the hair through nourishment. So mane and tail is doing something in there, dude. Okay, I think that's a good example of we could learn something from the animals. Okay, the closer we get to the animal kingdom, the quicker nature will start healing in our political world. So great question. Great question. Let's see. Let's do a real question. We got a lot of silly ones. We are going to save some of these for the next episode too, though, because there are some good questions. Let's see. What's your opinion on the Austin comedy scene, and is it worth a comedian to move there? Great question. Okay. I talk about the Austin comedy scene quite a bit. Is the Austin comedy scene in 2025 worth moving to? The answer is maybe. Okay. I think it depends on where you're at. If you are just starting comedy and you've never done it before and you want to move to Austin, Texas in 2025, I don't know if it's the right move. Okay. Simply because there are not a lot of great opportunities at open mics. The open mic scene is overflooded in Austin, Texas, I think. You might feel different, and that's fine. But I think that starting out in a scene like this where there's so many comedians, you might not get the stage time and the crowd quality that you need to get better. The flip side to that, if you move to Austin, Texas, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different mics. You're going to have a lot of great opportunities to meet other comedians and mingle and get yourself in the scene and start getting opportunities that way. From that aspect, I think it is good. It's going to be, if you move to Austin, Texas for comedy, it's going to be good in the sense of there's plenty of stage time, maybe not great crowds at the open mic scene to make you get better and writing and everything, but you will meet a lot of comics. You'll have a lot of opportunities to do. There's mics, multiple mics every single night. So in that sense, it is great to move here for that. If you're willing to rough it out, which is the first couple years of comedy, no matter what, is you're going to be grinding it out at open mics. The weird thing about Austin is it will give you the illusion that you should be getting things faster than you're getting them based off of 1% of people who are here to who kind of skyrocket, from the start. There is a lot of opportunities and you can get plucked out, but I think that's artificial. I don't think that is necessarily a great thing. And it's almost like you hit a mushroom boost in Mario Kart. You get that first, and And then eventually the race kind of levels out. Okay, things kind of get the way people get to where they're supposed to go no matter what, I think, if you work hard and you do the right things and you're a good person. I've been here in Austin, Texas for comedy since April 1st, 2021. So I've been here for it's about to be 4 years that I've been here for comedy, and I've been in the scene. There hasn't been, a week's gone by except when I had my babe that I haven't done comedy in this scene. And there has been a lot of people who have came and they did really well, and then they find out they're a piece of shit person and they go away. And then there's plenty of people who they have second acts and they do this. And then I think if you wanted to move to Austin, Texas, if you're 3-4 years in, this is a phenomenal place to be. If you were just starting out in comedy, my advice would be stay where you're at for the first couple years. Get your stage legs, get a good 5 minutes, perform as much as humanly possible for you, and get your good 5 to 10 minutes, and then move to Austin, Texas. I think even if you compare it to the big three, fuck the big three, it's just big me. Stupid. I do think there's the most opportunity in Austin, Texas. A lot of people outside, they want to talk shit about the Austin, Texas comedy scene. That's fine. Everybody can feel the way they were felt by the scene. It hasn't been my experience because I produce a lot of stuff in Austin, and I took the route of being like, I'm going to make my own opportunities, and I'm going to produce my own shows, and I'm going to focus on getting as much stage time as I can, but also giving other people stage time by trying to be a good person in the scene and really give back to it. I haven't been trying to just take. I don't just hit up 1,000 people for spots and then just be like, oh, why aren't people booking me and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, comedy is cool because it is like self-equalizing. There's people who come to town and I hear things about them and I go, oh shit, okay, yeah, don't want to put this person on, don't want to do this, whatever, don't like the vibe. They just don't get booked. They just don't last. And a lot of people will come here and they think that they're just going to skyrocket and they're going to have these huge, arcs that like, it's just not feasible for everybody. Not everybody who moves here is going to be like Cam Patterson or Casey Rocket or something. And I got to be honest with you, those guys, amazing people, dude. I literally can remember the first time being on a show with Cam Patterson and his roommate at the time, Cam Eilig, which Cam Eilig got upset at me because I said white people don't have culture on Friday night, and he wouldn't let it go, dude. He was saying Vikings and blah, blah, blah. And I get it, dude. You got culture, all right? You're a very cultured man. I remember seeing them for the first time. Cam Patterson, amazing stage presence and just such a good dude, and still an amazing human being and great dude. Deserves everything again. He's such a nice guy. And to me, that's one of the most important, that's more important to me than someone being really funny. Because guess what? There's a lot of people that even come here and they might be as funny as Cam, or they're, on a different level, but they're shitty and they treat people shitty. And these stories get around and they're just not fun to be around. And that's why people, don't get booked. And then they just, I don't know, they feel different about it. But this is a place where I think that if you are good, the cream rises to the top. It's a longer trajectory. And you just have to be in it. You have to be in it. You have to be willing just to be getting better. And that's what I love about it, is just, this is a long process. And you think you want shortcuts. That was like the other thing about me when I first moved here. And I've said this before. I thought I was moving to Austin, Texas for an opportunity. But what I was really moving here for was the opportunity to get better, was to be around so many other competitive comics, because most people moved here to pursue comedy. So it's not like a home scene where some people are just like, maybe I'll try the open mic in my hometown, blah, blah, blah. Everybody moved here to pursue this. And there's so much stage time and so many great comics. And now, we're getting a lot of bigger comics moving to Austin, which is what I thought was missing for so long. is it was a bunch of like freshmen that didn't have any sophomores and juniors. And there was only like college kids, like the Rogans and Seguras and all these other people who were like big, you know, comedians. I would liken them to being like the college kids, and everybody else 3 to 5 years in, less than 3 to 5. I would say at that time, I think I was like 3 years in when I moved here. That was like longer than a lot of people that moved here. It was only freshmen. So a lot of bad habits and weird things were happening, and all this stuff is happening. And then as time in the scene is like stabilized and there's even more legit stage time, more of the juniors and seniors kind of moved into the scene to like equalize it and like govern the scene and like set standards and what practices and what was happening. So I think it's great. I think from that standpoint, this is a great scene to be part of. And that was like the longest winded answer. And I hope all of you guys didn't check out after me just fucking talking bullshit for that whole time. But listen, I love you guys. Thank you for listening to the episode. Follow me on Instagram. I am Evan Lopez. Come see me perform live at East Austin Comedy Club every Friday at 6 p.m. It is my show. I open the show with crowd work, and I also host it, and then I'll close out the show. Okay? So you get to see a lot of your boy. Okay? Comedy and Caviar also this Friday at the Fairmont in Austin, hosting that. We have some very funny comics on there. It'll be Luke Tuma, Lily Michelle, and Tommy Pope from Netflix Tires. Okay? So it's going to be a great silly goose time. We're going to have fun. And I'll see you guys next week. And don't forget to give me topics. All right? I love ending it with questions. And no matter what, I still love you.